best way to predict the future is to take a look back at the extreme past for clues, and what better way to get a look at the past than to look at some prehistoric art. Let's take a journey back to the times of some of the earlier humans as we cover the top 10 terrifying cave paintings that predicted the future. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot we have the hunting cave painting. This painting comes to us from an astonishing 44,000 years ago and was found on the wall of a cave on an Indonesian island. Researchers were able to date this painting that far back due to the fact that the cave it was found in is still a living cave, which means that rock formations have been growing over the painting, and by being able to date those, they know it is at least 43,900 years old, but it could potentially be even older. The painting features what looks like a hunting scene with 4 wild pigs, some small buffalo, and a group of really small hunters with spears. The strange thing about these hunters, other than their size, is the fact that they're all human and animal hybrids. They all have elongated faces like an animal snout, and a lot of them have tails. There is even one tiny human thing that has a beak. We don't really know why they depicted the hunters this way or why the animals are so much larger than them. There also were no other usual signs of human life found in the cave, such as bones or hunting tools, so this cave may have acted as some sort of special or sacred spot for them, and while it definitely holds a lot of secrets, we may never get the chance to know most of them. In our number 9 spot today we have lizard hands. In 2002, in a cave discovered in the western deserts of Egypt, researchers found tons of paintings on the walls thought to be dated back at least 8,000 years, if not even longer. The paintings feature animals, humans, and sometimes headless creatures, which led to the cave being nicknamed the Cave of the Beasts. But there are also hundreds of handprints outlined, which are both very cool and very eerie. The most unusual of the handprints, however, are the 13 that are extremely tiny. This would be endearing and very cute, but what was once thought of as tiny little baby hands are actually not even human at all. An anthropologist realized this in 2006 when she discovered that they were much too small and the fingers were much too long. It is thought that these handprints may belong to lizards or perhaps baby crocodiles, but we still aren't really sure. It is definitely interesting and kind of fascinating to see all of these handprints on the walls of the cave, but it definitely carries a mystery that we may never know the answers to. In our number 8 spot today we have the Magura Cave. This is a cave that is actually one of the largest in Bulgaria, and it is located in the northwest area of the country. This cave is filled with prehistoric paintings that date back somewhere between 8,000 and 4,000 years ago. Through the research into this cave, around 700 drawings have been found on the walls, and they depict a wide variety of scenes. These paintings were created using bat excrement. I mean, you're in a cave, you gotta make do with the resources you have. It's not like they could just walk over to Michael's and grab a brand new paint set. The paintings mostly depict different hunting scenes, as well as scenes of people dancing and celebrating. Honestly, I just wish for one day that I could understand the mind of an early human and understand what these paintings were meant to symbolize. Maybe it was meant to show something, and maybe they just liked art. Who knows for sure. In our number 7 spot today we have the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is a painting that comes all the way from at least 7,000 years ago. The painting is the main part of a mural that is located in Utah's Horseshoe Canyon. I know, it's not exactly a cave, but it's close, and it's a cool ancient painting. The entire mural is huge, as it is 300 feet long and features around 80 figures, and it was likely painted by ancient nomads. The techniques they used to create this image was by filling their mouths with red ochre tinted paint and then spraying it out onto the sandstone. This is all super cool to learn about, but here's the kind of creepy thing. No one knows why these paintings were created or what they represent. It is possible that maybe they just like to paint, but it is kind of crazy to think about what this figure could have meant to them. Was it part of a legend? Was it something they saw in real life? Was it a prediction of things to come? This is just one of those mysteries that unfortunately is buried with the people of the past, and we are just left to speculate exactly what this could be about. In our number 6 spot today we have the Brazil Caves. This is an interesting cave painting because of the fact that it is widely debated when exactly it was created. The Serra de Capivara National Park is located in eastern Brazil, and it is the home to a bunch of different rock shelters that are decorated with incredible and elaborate cave paintings. This area includes scenes of rituals, hunting, trees, and animals, and some scientists believe that the oldest of the paintings dates back to at least 25,000 years ago. There are others who debate this because that would go against what we currently believe is the date of human settlement in the Americas, but hey, we weren't there, so who knows? In our number 5 spot today, we have hand and footprints. Quite recently, a team of international scientists uncovered a pair of ancient hand and footprints that really changed our way of thinking and our understanding of early cave art. These impressions were discovered in the Tibetan Plateau and are thought to be somewhere between 169,000 to 226,000 years old, making them quite possibly the oldest art ever discovered. What's more is that they believe that this art was actually made by children. These hand and foot impressions appear to have been placed intentionally on an area of soft travertine, which is a form of terrestrial limestone. This travertine was deposited by water from what is now an inactive hot spring, but over time, as the travertine transformed into stone, it preserved these small hand and footprints. You might be wondering how we can determine hand and footprints as art, but experts say that we can determine this because the traces were not made during normal movement or to stabilize motion, and because, quote, care appears to have been taken with the composition, they qualify as an early act of cave art. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Romanelli cave art. This art was found quite recently in the Romanelli cave, which is located in Italy. The first art in this cave was discovered more than 100 years ago, so these newer findings of this Stone Age art really is quite the discovery. This cave is located on Italy's southeast coast and is just 7 meters above the Adriatic Sea, which has made exploration of the cave quite difficult in the past. There was actually a collapse that happened inside of the cave, which created more difficulties in the search. Through excavation of the cave, researchers have found deposits of animal bones, a small quantity of human bones, and several portable art objects such as stone fragments, and of course, the thing we're all here for today, just the art. The art that was found here includes a bovid, some geometric patterns which were made using, quote, moon milk, which is a soft white material that builds up in limestone caves, and art that depicts a bird, which is rare as birds were not usually depicted in the art that was normally found in the area during this time. The discovery gave some very valuable insights, as the fact that some of the images are layered over one another has shown that this cave was used for a much longer period of time than what was previously thought. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Cave of El Castillo. The Cave of the Castle is a Stone Age rock shelter that is located in Spain, and it holds some of the oldest cave paintings we have ever found. The most notable of all of the art found here is referred to as the Gallery of Hands, which is a panel of abstract signs and hand stencil rock art that has been dated back to around 39,000 years ago. The lengthy cave holds over 100 different images, such as several rock engravings of deer, as well as images of other animals that would have been in the area like bison, goats, horses, and aurochs, which are a now extinct species. There are even images found in the Cave of Dogs, which is actually extremely rare in prehistoric cave art. Right now, it is debated whether it was Neanderthals that were responsible for this cave art, or if it was Homo sapiens after all, and to be honest, I mean, it could go either way. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Fumain Cave. The cave art that exists here is an important source of art that was created during the Upper Paleolithic period, and this cave is home to some of the oldest stone art that can be found in Italy. Many of these paintings were created using red ochre, and it includes, of course, depictions of animals, but also of sort of half-animal, half-human hybrids, which may symbolize some sort of belief system, or perhaps even mythology that existed at the time. It's hard for us to say for sure, but it certainly is a reflection of some sort of belief system that existed at the time. This is not only some of the oldest figurative cave art that can be found, but it also helped us to shed light on the contributions of both Neanderthals and modern man to Stone Age art during this time period. According to Alberto Broglio, professor of paleontology at the University of Ferrara, evidence obtained from this cave shows that there was a clean break between Neanderthal and modern humans, both in their culture and their lifestyle. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Chevette Cave. This cave is located in southern France, and it contains some of the best and most well-preserved cave paintings that have been discovered to date, which truly is incredible. It isn't quite clear exactly when these paintings were made, and that's actually quite a source of debate among experts. It is known, however, that this cave definitely holds some of the oldest discovered cave paintings, some of which are thought to possibly be 30,000 years old. Most of these paintings consist of different animals, and there are actually no complete human figures seen here. There are a few panels of red ochre handprints and hand stencils, and a ton of abstract lines and dots that can be found throughout the cave. I could honestly talk about these specific cave paintings for an entire video, they're so interesting. One drawing seen here, which was later overlaid with a drawing of a deer, is sort of reminiscent of a volcano spewing lava, which was similar to the regional volcanoes that were active at the time, and if confirmed, this would represent the earliest known drawing of a volcanic eruption. Not only this, but those who created the art here used techniques that are very rarely seen in any other cave art. Like, they scraped the walls of debris before starting so as to give them a more blank canvas to work on. That's simply amazing.
In the Bastar region of India's Chhattisgarh state near the town of Charama, archaeologists rediscovered a bunch of rock paintings in 2014 that were pretty incredible. First off, the paintings date back about 10,000 years. Imagine looking up close at something some ancient person from 10,000 years ago painted with their bare hands. Aside from the age though, some of this art looks oddly out of place. A lot of it looks more science fiction than your typical spear-wielding hunters and animals you get with most cave paintings. There are humanoid figures with what look like antennae on their heads. Some appear to be flying in disc-shaped crafts with 3 legs, and a lot of these figures just look kinda, for lack of a better word, alien. Now, is that just a coincidence? Were they depicting gods that they just happened to envision the same way aliens are in modern day, or were they actually seeing something? Archaeologist J.R. Bhagat, who studies these closely, said these might be depictions of ancient encounters with extraterrestrials, or at least ancient humans' imagination of alien beings. See, local tribes have legends about the Roala, or the small-sized ones, said to have come from the sky in flying machines, abducting villagers before disappearing. Sound familiar? The Lascaux Caves in southwestern France are some of the most famous prehistoric sites in the world, filled with detailed paintings of animals like bulls, deer, and horses, but beyond the impressive animal art, there's something strange here as well. Abstract signs and dots. Now, could they just be decoration? Sure, but some researchers think these marks might be more than that. Early star charts or lunar calendars. Basically, these prehistoric people could have been tracking the moon's phases or the positions of stars to keep time. That would be pretty nuts, because it means they would have had some understanding of astronomy long before we thought people ever did. It could be much more than just making art for art's sake. They may have been recording knowledge, passing it down for generations. Sticking with France, Chauvet Cave is also packed with some of the oldest and most detailed cave paintings in the world, dating back about 33,000 years. Among the artwork, researchers again spotted a series of dots that some believe aren't just there for the sake of it, but actually show the phases of the moon. The lunar cycle lasts about 29 days, and these dots might have been an early way to track it, basically an ancient calendar. To pull this off, whoever made these marks had to observe the moon over many nights and understand its changes. That means early humans weren't just focused on daily survival, but instead were paying close attention to the sky and time. Tracking the moon would have been super useful too, helping with hunting seasons, gathering, timing rituals. And besides the dots, the paintings themselves are just impressive. There's a lot more detail in these images than you usually see in ancient cave art. There's shading being used here. The animals have more depth and shape to them. They look almost lifelike. And that alone makes these cave markings seem more advanced for the time, but these dots, they could be the earliest evidence of our ancestors mixing art and science in a way we might not expect from people living such a long time ago. Guanyingdong Cave in China has some of the earliest evidence of the Lavalos stone tool technique, dating back anywhere from 170,000 to 80,000 years. But what is the Lavalos technique? Well, this was a game changer in prehistoric technology, because instead of just smashing rocks together and hoping for the best, you'd start with a chunk of stone, usually flint or something similar, and shape it into a very specific form. This chunk is what archaeologists call a core. The idea was to carefully trim and prepare the surface of this core so that when they finally struck it in just the right spot, a flake would pop off that was already shaped into a useful tool. So they weren't shaping the flake after breaking it, they were shaping the core beforehand so that the flake came off ready to use. And since the shaping was intentional, it was repeatable. They could knock off several usable flakes from one core, all similar in shape and size. That's a huge step up from just hitting two rocks together and hoping something sharp breaks off. Hohlefels Cave in southwestern Germany is a gold mine for ancient stuff. Archaeologists found the Venus of Hohlefels here, which is a tiny figurine carved from mammoth ivory. And yes, that means it was actually carved from a mammoth's tusk. This 2.5-inch figurine is supposed to be a woman. What immediately pops out are the cartoonishly large breasts and hips. In fact, they're so big you can barely see this woman's head. Now, I don't think this was meant to be a dig, although that's possible, but most archaeologists believe this was meant to symbolize fertility. Maybe this was some sort of goddess figure. People back then cared a lot about fertility because survival depended on it. I mean, I guess it still does, but it really did back then. So this figurine was probably super important. Along with that, they found musical instruments made from bird bones and, again, mammoth ivory, flutes with finger holes that could play actual notes, not just one sound. Carving those flutes would have taken very sharp tools and serious skill. I mean, making finger holes without cracking the bone would have been no easy task.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the Neanderthal art. Back in 2018, it was announced that one of the oldest ever known cave paintings made by Neanderthals was found in the Spanish caves of La Pasiega, Maltaviso, and Ardales. This art is said to be around 64,000 years old, and to be honest, it's quite abstract, which may not be all that surprising. Archaeologists found things like drawings of ladder-like lines, hand stencils, and a stalagmite structure decorated with ochre. It is thought that the Neanderthals that created this art left it in a location that they viewed as special. I mean, many of the hand stencils appear in this smaller, hard-to-reach area of the cave, which means that the person who made them would have had to prepare not only the pigment, but also some sort of source of light prior to entering the cave. It was certainly a deliberate act. My favorite thing about this art, though, is the symbolism. It is said that, quote, "The significance of the painting is not to know that Neanderthals could paint, it's the fact that they were engaging in symbolism, and that's probably related to an ability to have language." Like, basically, this was almost their way of communicating. This was their way of leaving behind a story. I don't know. I just think that's very cool and also a very important stepping stone in terms of early language development. It is said that researchers are looking into the acoustics of the area now where the cave art is located because they are interested to see whether the placement of the art had anything to do with the sounds people could make or hear in the particular spot. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Bhimbetka rock shelters. There are a collection of rock shelters that are known in central India known as the Bhimbetka, and they contain over 600 different paintings that span through the prehistoric, Paleolithic, and Mesolithic periods, which is truly unbelievable. The oldest of all of the paintings that can be found here is thought to date back to around 12,000 years ago. The paintings here are basically what you'd expect, as it reflects the sort of lives around the people who made them. The paintings show us a glimpse into what their lives looked like, and they also show an array of animals that these people crossed, such as tigers, lions, and crocodiles. One really exceptional thing about this art is that it shows us the sort of transition into the Stone Age that these people had. The art moves from depicting dances and rituals to hunting scenes with the tools that they were able to create. It gives us just a tiny glimpse into the evolution of humankind in that area all those years ago. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Tadvard Akakis. Probably said that horribly wrong. This is a mountain range that is located in the Sahara Desert of western Libya, and I guess the art is more rock art than cave art, but I mean, it's all incredibly fascinating regardless of where the rocks reside. Some of the art that can be found here is said to date back to at least 14,000 years ago, and most of the paintings or carvings are of animals that were in the area, such as giraffes, elephants, ostriches, and camels, but also of men and horses. The art found here was created over quite a span of time, which gives us a remarkable insight into the changes that happened throughout these years. The changes in the fauna and flora, but also the changes in the way of life of those who made them. They showed the differences of the different populations that ended up succeeding each other in the area and region of the Sahara. In our number 7 spot today we have Ubur. This location is a group of rock outcrops that are located in the Kakadu National Park, which is a protected area in the Northern Territory of Australia. This location is likely to have become the site that it is due to the large rock overhangs, which would have provided the perfect shelter for the indigenous people of the land for thousands of years. It's super cool to think about why these early humans chose these specific spots for their art, and I mean, this one totally makes sense. Some of the art here is said to be 20,000 years old, and most of it depicts different animals such as catfish, snake-necked turtles, pig-nosed turtles, rock-haunting ringtail possums, wallabies, and even a Tasmanian tiger. Along with the extensive amount of rock art that can be seen here, there is also art that was found that was painted on the skeletons of animals in the area too, which is absolutely captivating and very intriguing. In our number 6 spot today we have the Altamira Cave. This cave is located in Spain, and it was renowned for the prehistoric art that it features. There are charcoal drawings and polychrome paintings that show some more contemporary and local fauna as well as human hands. This art is striking and it truly is incredible, but another reason why this art is so exceptional is the fact that it was the first European cave paintings for which prehistoric origin was suggested. Many people disputed this for quite a while because it was thought that prehistoric humans weren't capable of abstract thought, but this was later disproved by similar art found years later that showed that it is absolutely possible that the early humans had these sort of capabilities. It is said that the earliest of the paintings found here can date back to the Upper Paleolithic period 36,000 years ago.
The Sun Temple at Mesa Verde National Park in southwestern Colorado was built into a cliff alcove shaped kind of like a big D. The people who built it, the ancestral Pabloans, used real geometry to design it. The shape and structure follow certain patterns, like the 3-4-5 triangle, which is a simple way to make perfect corners. Something called the golden rectangle, a layout that shows up in art, nature, and architecture because it just feels balanced. Obviously, this kind of precision doesn't just happen by accident. They had to know how to measure, how to mark angles, and how to lay everything out so the pieces fit together exactly right. On top of that, parts of the temple line up with the sun during the summer and winter solstices, meaning the builders were also tracking how the sun moved through the sky. That would have helped them keep time, mark the seasons, and plan ceremonies and planting cycles. Blumbo's Cave is on the southern coast of South Africa, looking out over the Indian Ocean. Inside, archaeologists found pieces of ochre, which is iron-rich clay that turns a rusty red or brown color when it dries. It's soft enough to carve, but durable enough to hold those carvings for tens of thousands of years. People back then would grind it up to make paint or use it as a kind of an early crayon, but what they found in this cave were blocks of ochre with carefully carved patterns. These engravings are around 75,000 years old. Some have cross-hatched lines, some look like grids, others have angles or zigzags. They're more than just random scratches. They were made with tension, using stone or bone tools to create repeated, even patterns, and it's not like they were carving animals or people, you know, the usual stuff you see in cave art. These were abstract shapes, which doesn't sound all that impressive, but think of what this means. They weren't just copying what they saw. They were thinking in symbols. As for what the symbols mean, maybe it was some sort of language, an early form of code, or maybe it was just decorative. Whatever the purpose though, it proves that people that far back were already thinking creatively, instead of just hunting and surviving like animals. Altamira Cave in northern Spain has some of the best preserved prehistoric paintings ever discovered. These were found in the late 1800s, and at that time people thought they were fake, because no one believed humans that old could make art this good. The paintings date back around 36,000 years. They mostly show bison, deer, and horses, done in natural colors like reds, blacks, and browns. What's crazy though is how lifelike some of these are. Instead of just arbitrarily applying paint to the walls, in some cases they actually use the curves of the cave to give the animals more shape. Beyond that, there are again symbols, dots, and handprints. Some researchers think those markings might have been used to track lunar or seasonal cycles, acting like an early calendar. Tassili Najir is a massive plateau in the middle of the Sahara Desert in southeastern Algeria. Here you'll find thousands of ancient rock paintings and carvings spread across more than 70,000 square kilometers. Most of it's animals, hunting scenes, day-to-day life, pretty standard for prehistoric art, but there's a small group of figures that really stand out. These ones don't look like hunters or herders or anything immediately recognizable. Some look like they're wearing helmets or full-body suits. A few appear to have large, round heads with no facial features and limbs that are thin and stretched. Some call them the Great Martian Gods. One of the most famous is known as the Roundhead, a figure with a bulbous head surrounded by smaller human-like figures reaching up toward it. Some even appear to be hovering or floating, not standing on any surface. And there are also shapes that look kind of like discs or capsules. Could they be depictions of deities or shamans in ritual clothing? Definitely possible. But what if these deities were actually something they were seeing? Visitors from the sky. The story of the Drapa stone starts in 1937 when a Chinese expedition led by Professor Chi Pute supposedly discovered a burial site high in the Bayan Har Mountains near the border of Tibet and China. Inside they claimed to have found small skeletons with large skulls and thin, frail bodies, about 4 feet tall. Alongside the remains were hundreds of round stone discs, each about a foot in diameter, with a small hole in the center and 2 spiral grooves carved into the surface. Those spirals were said to contain thousands of tiny characters that could only be seen with magnifying glasses. Years later, a man named Sum Nui allegedly translated them at the Beijing Academy for Prehistoric Research. The translation apparently told the story of an alien spacecraft that crash-landed in the mountains 12,000 years before. The beings, called the Drapa, had come from another star system and were stranded. Some of the locals accepted them, others did not. The discs supposedly recorded their journey, their crash, their struggle to survive. Nui's report was said to have been dismissed by the academic community. He was mocked so badly that he left China and ended up dying in Japan, and the story resurfaced in 1966 from a Soviet journalist who wrote about the discs. But no museum ever officially displayed the stones, and they've since disappeared.
In our number 5 spot today, we have the vandalized cave painting. This painting is the oldest known painting in India, and it was found on the walls and ceiling of the Sittanavassal cave. It was originally believed that this painting was first created in the 1st century BCE. The paintings depict things like human figures, fish, elephants, birds, and different floral patterns. It is said that another artist ended up drawing over the original, which is an incredible shame and truly just rude. These paintings have been severely vandalized, and a lot of the areas are in quite bad shape. There's something about things that are this old that makes me feel like they should just not be messed with at all. Not only because it's rude, but also because you just never know what kind of things they may hold. In our number 4 spot today, we have the droughts. Ancient drawings and writings were found covering the walls of the Dayu cave, which is located in central China, and a lot of them detail different droughts and such that were experienced during the time of the writing. According to these drawings, people would come to the cave for either water or to pray for rain in times of drought. The writings reveal some of the horrors that the people of the time experienced while going through these periods of drought, including severe starvation, social instability, and conflict between government and citizens. While these cave writings show us a different time in history, researchers say that these stalagmites are formed by dripping water and they form rings, sort of like how trees do, and these rings can give us insights into different things. Based on the patterns of these rings, scientists were able to corroborate the things that the cave writings were saying, but they were also able to make a grim prediction for the future, which is unfortunately that this region may again see one of these catastrophic droughts, this time in the late 2030s. In our number 3 spot today, we have daydreaming. The paintings at the Lascaux caves are perhaps some of the most famous ancient cave paintings of all time. They date back to some 17,000 years ago, and a lot of the art seen on the walls of the cave is art that depicts animals. About 900 of them them, with 605 being pretty identifiable. There are cattle, bison, some wild cats, bears, birds, but there's one weird thing. There's no reindeer, and there were definitely reindeer in the area at the time, and there's evidence that reindeer meat was used for food, so why didn't they draw any? Well, our best theory as to why is that perhaps these drawings and paintings are depicting animals that the humans at the time were daydreaming of. The animals that were too fast or too strong, or that they didn't have effective weapons for. The drawings showing what life could be like if only these humans had more. Does that sound familiar to any of us? Because I think it definitely should. In our number 2 spot today we have Astronomy Masters. This is a point that doesn't discuss just one cave painting in particular, but it's something that has been seen throughout many that have been discovered, and even in some of the oldest ever found. What I'm talking about is the early humans and their complex understanding of astronomy. A common theme among ancient cave paintings is the depiction of animals, but what was previously thought of as just a drawing is now being realized that instead of just animal symbols, they may actually be used to represent star constellations in the night sky, and the paintings of them may be used to represent dates or mark events such as comet strikes. I mean, for a second, imagine being an early human having no concept of science and looking at the night sky with no light pollution. It totally makes sense why they would try and keep track of these things, not to mention how terrifying would a comet or meteor be when you have no idea what they are. Researchers have been able to find thousands of sites and symbols that span through thousands of years that seem to be using the same sophisticated level of astronomy. It is likely that this understanding is exactly why human migration and navigation of the open seas was possible. Their brilliance truly was crucial to how we evolved as humans. In our number 1 spot today we have Lascaux. Lascaux is a complex of caves and different rock shelters that are located in northwestern Somalia. These caves and rock shelters contain some of the earliest known art in the Horn of Africa, and really just on the continent in general, which is quite the feat considering the rich history of humans in Africa. I mean, it's where we evolved into humans after all. These prehistoric cave paintings show cows in ceremonial robes accompanied by humans. They show domesticated dogs and even a giraffe, which I personally love. These paintings are actually very well preserved, which is fantastic, and they retain clear outlines and vibrant colors, which really gives us a clearer look into the lives of the people who created them.
Way out in Bolivia, there's this massive carved bedrock known as Samipata, basically a giant flat stone plaza with weird channels and patterns etched into it. Ancient people carved long grooves, circles, and snake-like shapes into the rock. It's famous for being shaped a bit like a landing pad. Some even believe this may have actually been a landing pad. For what? Well, ancient alien ships maybe? A stretch, sure, but it's an interesting idea. The UNESCO description calls it a ceremonial platform that got used by multiple cultures. The Shawnee, Inca, then the Spanish built on top, but the exact purpose isn't totally clear. So yeah, unless you're buying into the alien landing pad theory, the patterns most likely have something to do with ceremonies or water flow during rituals. Deep underground in Malta, there's this ancient structure called the Hypogeum. And one room inside is known as the Oracle Chamber. It's carved entirely from stone, and if you speak or chant in there, the sound bounces around in a very strange way. Certain tones, especially deep male voices, can cause the whole room and even people standing in other rooms to vibrate. Scientists tested the chamber and found that it naturally amplifies sound at around 110 Hz. That's a really specific frequency, and it just so happens to be close to what brainwaves produce during trance states. So some believe the room was built to create an altered state of consciousness on purpose, like maybe it was used in rituals to connect with something beyond the physical. Göbekli Tepe is over 11,000 years old. That alone is wild. This place was built before the wheel, before farming really took off, and long before metal tools. But what makes it even weirder is the stuff carved into the stone. These massive T-shaped pillars are covered in animals like lions, snakes, vultures, scorpions, and these odd V-shapes and circles that some people think weren't just for decoration. There's this theory that those V-shapes actually form a kind of calendar, a whole system that tracks months, lunar cycles, and even adds extra days to stay in sync. Basically, people think these carvings might show the builders had a better grip on timekeeping than anyone expected for that era. Others say the whole site might have been designed to line up with specific stars like Sirius or mark things like the summer solstice, which sounds pretty crazy when you realize this was built thousands of years before Stonehenge. There's still debate over what it all means, but even if they weren't charting the stars or inventing calendars, something complex was going on here. In the middle of the desert in southern Peru, you'll find hundreds of rock carvings at Toro Muerto. Most are animals like cattle and felines, but some look like this. More human-like figures, but with huge, round heads that almost look like they're wearing helmets or masks. To fans of ancient technology, those helmets look suspiciously like protective headgear, or maybe even diving suits. Archaeologists say these carvings are part of the Huayacaya culture dating back to 500 CE or so, and probably had some kind of spiritual meaning, but there is something rather sci-fi about them too. Of course, there's no proof it has anything to do with some long-lost ancient technology, but the imagery does make some wonder if they'd been inspired by something not from this world. Rongo Rongo is this mysterious set of carved symbols found on Easter Island. It's found on tablets, staffs, and on the walls of caves, and no one's been able to decode it. There are only about 27 surviving pieces, all weathered or burned, scattered across museums. We've got around 400 unique glyphs, and they're written in a weird back and forth way called reverse boustrophodon. That means you read one line from left to right, then you flip the tablet upside down and read the next line from left to right again. It's like the symbols were carved facing opposite directions on every other line. So the reader had to keep flipping the board back and forth to follow it. So we know how it's supposed to be read, we just don't know what any of it actually says. Some researchers say a few signs seem to count moon cycles or track stuff like family lines or rulers, but we still can't say for sure. In Talampaya National Park in Argentina, you'll find these strange carvings etched into the walls, some of them dating back around 2,000 to 3,000 years. They're known as the petroglyphs of the Cienaga culture, and while some of them show normal stuff like animals, others are a bit harder to explain. One figure in particular that gets brought up a lot is this one here. Look at the big round heads, the lack of a face. They almost look like they're wearing helmets, like spacesuits. The proportions are way off from typical human figures, and there are no clear weapons or tools or clothing to suggest it's a hunter or a warrior. Of course, this is where, again, the ancient alien theories come in. People think these carvings might show beings that early humans saw but didn't fully understand. In 2023, archaeologists digging around the Karga Oasis in Egypt, about 100 miles west of Luxor, came across a weird rock panel. It's now got people debating what the hell it actually shows. At first glance, the carvings look like spiders, webs, maybe bugs caught in the web, and that's exactly what Egyptologist Salim Ikram said it was. Most of the headlines ran with that version of the story. Creepy prehistoric spiders etched into stone, cool enough, but some researchers think there might be more to this. Dr. Derek Cunningham came out with a totally different angle. He believes the patterns are actually ancient astronomy. They line up with important numbers used to predict solar and lunar eclipses. For example, he says the spider-looking shapes are tilted at exactly 13.66 degrees, which matches half of a sidereal month. That's basically how long it takes the moon to line up with the same distant stars again. Then there's Michael Leto, who thinks the symbols represent constellations and zodiac signs, possibly used for some kind of star map. So in a bunch of European caves, researchers started noticing weird marks next to the animal paintings. Not the animals themselves, but symbols, repeating shapes like dots, slashes, crosses, and these odd Y figures. First, everyone figured it was just a really early form of board doodling, but a study in 2023 argued something much bigger. That this might be the world's oldest form of writing. They don't always seem to be random marks. They follow patterns. Researchers think these early humans, some 20,000 years ago, were actually keeping track of time. Specifically, they were recording when certain animals mated or migrated by marking lunar months. One of the lead researchers said it's a, quote, really big deal cognitively, going on to explain it shows they were organizing information outside of their brains, on surfaces, which is basically the first step toward writing and recording data. They were tracking breeding cycles, trying to predict animal behavior, and to think this kind of thing could have been going on during the Ice Age inside pitch black caves, well, that's pretty wild. Deep in southern Russia, in a spot called the Skelnovsky Grotto, now it's kind of hard to tell based on these images, but archaeologists studied some rock carvings here and found that they look a lot like someone's first-hand account of a meteor crashing to Earth. The petroglyph dates back to the Bronze Age. It shows what seems to be a giant object falling from the sky, breaking into pieces, and scattering debris. Researchers think this might be the earliest known eyewitness record of something like this. An ancient person trying to document a meteor explosion the only way they could, by carving it into rock. One team even matched the direction the object was moving in the carving to real landmarks on the ground, like blast zones and impact craters nearby, and it lines up. So whoever made this wasn't just telling a story, they were recording something they saw, something that would have been utterly terrifying, by the way. They probably thought the world was ending. In the remote Kimberley region of northwestern Australia, you'll find the Wandjina cave paintings, ancient Aboriginal artwork that shows figures that are nothing like the usual stick figure hunting scenes or animal drawings you see in other parts of the world. Instead, the Wandjina are drawn with big round heads, little mouths or no mouths at all, massive black eyes, and white faces that almost look like they're glowing. Some are surrounded by halos or lines that shoot out from their heads. And if you're thinking, well, that kind of sounds like your classic alien in modern day, well, you're not alone. The local Aboriginal people say the Wandjina are powerful ancestral spirits, sky beings that brought law, culture, and even rain. Some believe these aren't just mythological spirits, but actual beings that ancient people saw with their own eyes. The mouthless faces, the oversized eyes, the auras, they all feel oddly familiar in today's world of UFO sightings and alien reports. Were the Wandjina just ancient gods, or something they imagined, or could they have been an entity that showed up in the sky thousands of years ago? What you're looking at here is rock art found in Sego Canyon in Utah. Some of this stuff looks very interesting. These petroglyphs, some more than 8,000 years old, feature these mysterious figures with large, hollow eyes and often no arms or legs. Some even look like they have antennas. To fans of the ancient astronaut theory, this looks like possible evidence that extraterrestrials came to Earth long, long ago. One of the most famous images is known as the Barrier Canyon Holy Man. This one is very eerie. I mean, just what is this thing that the smaller, dark figures are surrounding? Is it meant to be a god, or could it be a depiction of something they really saw, something from another world? Well, researcher Polly Shavsma thinks that these figures were probably created as part of shamanic rituals, not encounters with aliens. That the figures with strange eyes and legless bodies might represent spirit beings or supernatural entities that shamans, spiritual leaders of the time, claimed to have contacted during trance-like states. According to Shavsma, shamans often believed they could travel to other realms using hallucinogens to connect with these divine beings for guidance. What exactly are these figures wearing on their heads? Some say they look a lot like helmets. These figures are part of the Valcamonica petroglyphs in Italy. They're often mentioned when the concept of ancient alien astronauts is brought up. Because isn't everyone talking about this stuff all the time? These petroglyphs, which date back over 10,000 years, show a variety of different images. Some of them are pretty standard stuff, animals, symbols, godlike entities, but some of them, especially the two astronaut-looking guys, look way more sci-fi than anything you could expect from ancient humans. So did these ancient humans record encounters with extraterrestrials, or are we just seeing what we want to see? At the end of the day, we can never really know for sure unless we somehow manage to invent time travel, which I really hope we do. In the tribal Bastar region of Chhattisgarh, India, a set of ancient rock paintings were rediscovered in 2014, and they're pretty crazy looking. Discovered near the town of Charama, the paintings date back about 10,000 years, and archaeologist J.R. Bhagat was immediately fascinated by how much of them seemed to look like aliens and UFOs, and I definitely see it. Some seem to show humanoid figures with antennae descending from the sky, others seem to be flying in disc-shaped crafts with the 3 legs coming out from the bottom. In a few images, the figures are shown wearing what appear to be spacesuits. Now, Bhagat was pretty much full on with the alien stuff. He actually made it pretty clear that he thought there was a very good chance these paintings represented ancient humans' encounters with extraterrestrials, or at least their imagination of alien beings from out in the stars. Locals from the area also have legends of ancient beings known as the Rohela people, which translates to the small-sized ones, and they have stories of these entities landing in flying machines, abducting villagers and taking them away, never to be seen again. Could these rock paintings be depicting those very same sky visitors, or are these images just products of the artist's imaginations? The Wandjina cave paintings of the Kimberley region in Australia have fascinated people for centuries. These paintings show figures with these large black eyes, white faces, and no mouths, often surrounded by halos or what sorta look like helmets. They're unlike anything we'd expect to see in Aboriginal art, which has led to this theory that these could be depictions of alien beings. Now, the Wandjina are considered powerful spirit beings in Australian Aboriginal culture, believed to have come from the sky during the dream time. They're said to have created the land and its people before disappearing into the earth or returning back to the stars. But it's really hard to look at these images here and not see your stereotypical alien, isn't it? Why are they painted this way? Could these ancient beings really have been extraterrestrial visitors? In the heart of the Sahara, there is a place called the Tassili Niger, a massive sandstone plateau in southern Algeria. First of all, the landscape just looks otherworldly. It looks like another planet, which makes some of the rock art even stranger. The rock art, which includes about 15,000 paintings and carvings, is considered one of the richest archaeological sites in the entire world. The most famous part of the Tassili rock art is from what's called the Round Head period, which dates back around 6,000 to 8,000 years, and these images, they're definitely out there. The figures painted on the rocks have big round heads, no real facial features, and some even have strange, almost alien looking features like this one here with the elongated head. Another famous image, known as the God of Safar, almost looks like a humanoid wearing some sort of strange suit. And some of the other figures look like they're wearing diving helmets or spacesuits. Of course, others argue that these could just be representations of ritualistic masks or ceremonial dresses from ancient times. Whatever they are though, these paintings give us an incredible look into the life in the Sahara thousands of years ago.
In our number 5 spot today, we have the Chauvet Cave paintings. Tucked away in the south of France, the Chauvet Cave holds a stunning gallery of artwork that dates back around 36,000 years, making it one of the oldest known sites of human creativity. The walls are adorned with incredibly detailed and realistic paintings of animals like lions, rhinoceroses, and horses. What's truly fascinating is the sophistication of these images. The artists used shading, perspective, and motion techniques that seem astonishingly advanced for their time. This has led some to speculate that these Paleolithic painters had knowledge of future artistic developments or even flirted with the concept of motion pictures on a very primitive level, of course. The way they captured movement by depicting animals with multiple sets of legs creates a sequential narrative almost like frames in animation. However, most scholars attribute this to the exceptional skill and keen observation of these early humans who were intimately connected with the wildlife around them. The paintings likely served ritualistic purposes or communicated vital information about animal behavior and the environment. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Temple of Seti I. Hidden in the depths of Egypt's Temple of Seti I at Abydos are hieroglyphs that have sparked both excitement and debate. Among the ancient symbols, some carvings bizarrely resemble modern-day vehicles. Think helicopters perched above doorways, submarines gliding along walls, and airplanes etched into stone. These uncanny images have led to jaw-dropping claims that the ancient Egyptians possessed knowledge of future technology, or perhaps even had encounters with time travelers. Did they really have a sneak peek into inventions that wouldn't appear until thousands of years later? While the idea sets the imagination racing, historians and archaeologists offer a bit more of a grounded explanation. These so-called vehicles are actually an accidental result, moments where scribes chiseled new hieroglyphs over older ones. Over time, the plaster covering the original carvings eroded, causing the layers to merge and form shapes that coincidentally resemble our modern machines. So while the ancient Egyptians were masters of engineering and astronomy, it's unlikely that they were sketching blueprints for helicopters and submarines. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Charama rock paintings. Hidden within the caves of Chhattisgarh in India, the Charama rock paintings date back around 10,000 years. These ancient artworks depict humanoid figures with helmets and antenna-like appendages alongside disc-shaped objects hovering in the sky. Images that uncannily resemble modern-day depictions of UFOs and extraterrestrials. Such striking visuals have led some to speculate that these cave paintings are evidence of prehistoric encounters with alien visitors, or even predictions of future technological advancements. Most anthropologists and archaeologists interpret these figures as representations of mythological beings or deities from local folklore, with the helmets and antenna possibly symbolizing ceremonial headgear or spiritual attributes. The floating discs might be symbolic portrayals of celestial bodies or spiritual phenomena significant to the culture of the time. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Nazca Lines in Peru. Stretching across the barren desert of southern Peru, the Nazca Lines are one of the most mysterious wonders in the world. Etched into the earth between 500 BCE and 500 CE, these massive geoglyphs depict a menagerie of animals, soaring birds, intricate monkeys, and sprawling spiders, alongside complex geometric shapes. What's completely mind-boggling is that these designs are only fully visible from the air, leading some to speculate that the ancient Nazca people either had knowledge of flight or created them as signals to beings from the sky. Could they have predicted future aviation technology, or were they trying to communicate with extraterrestrials? While such theories add a thrilling layer of mystery, most researchers lean towards more terrestrial explanations. They believe the Nazca Lines had ritualistic or astronomical purposes, possibly serving as giant calendars or being part of water-related ceremonies in this arid region. Crafted by removing the dark topsoil to reveal lighter ground beneath, the creation of these geoglyphs was well within the technological reach of the Nazca culture. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the Lascaux shaft scene. Deep within the winding passages of France's Lascaux cave, there is a mysterious painting known as the shaft scene that continues to baffle and intrigue. It depicts a human figure with a bird-like head lying seemingly lifeless near a wounded bison, its entrails dramatically spilling out. Nearby, a simple bird perched on a stick adds another layer of oddity. Some modern theorists have jumped on this haunting imagery, suggesting that it foretells future events or embodies concepts that were supposedly unknown at the time, perhaps even hinting at out-of-body experiences or other dimensions. Could this be an ancient prophecy, or a primitive understanding of ideas that would only emerge thousands of years later? Most scholars, however, see it differently. They interpret the scene as a shamanistic vision or a mythological narrative reflecting the rich spiritual life and storytelling traditions of Paleolithic humans. The bird-headed man might represent a shaman in a trance or a symbolic journey between worlds.
In Utah's Sago Canyon, there's a mysterious stretch of ancient rock art. Some of these carvings are over 8,000 years old. They don't look like your typical cave drawings of hunters or animals. Instead, they're these tall, kinda eerie figures with huge hollow eyes, no arms or legs, and in some cases, what look like antennae sticking out of their heads. They look kind of like robots from 1950s B-movies. Naturally, this has caught the attention of people who believe in the ancient astronaut theory. Basically, that maybe these ancient people had actual encounters with visitors from space. One of the standout images is called the Barrier Canyon Holy Man. And here, this towering figure is surrounded by smaller, shadowy people. Clearly, the tall figure is the important one. But were they drawing something they just imagined, or was this something they actually saw and decided to document? So here's a wild one. A group of explorers in Mexico claim that they've found actual proof of ancient contact with aliens. They were digging around in a set of caves between Veracruz and Puebla, and they pulled up what they're calling the stones of the first encounter. Basically, carved artifacts showing beings with long heads, big oval eyes, and even what look like spaceships. One of the stones apparently shows an alien handing over what looks like a corn cob to a ruler. The group said their search has, quote, yielded totally unexpected results, and they genuinely believe they found the ultimate evidence that alien beings visited Earth thousands of years ago. Local legends talk about a mysterious ship that's been hidden in the area since ancient times, and that's what drew the explorers there in the first place. According to Jose Aguayo, the National Institute of Anthropology and History won't touch this discovery. It's not typical archaeology, he said. And if INAH ever did recognize the artifacts, it would, quote, basically accept one of the most denied facts, the existence of beings not from Earth. Deep inside South Africa's Rising Star cave system, so deep you've got to crawl through tight, pitch-black tunnels to even reach it, archaeologists found engravings that might be the earliest symbolic art ever made. And no, they weren't made by Homo sapiens. The markings, which are made up of lines and crosshatches, some seeming to be crude depictions of animals even, were carved into the rock walls near what appears to be a burial site. But if it wasn't Homo sapiens who etched them though, who was it? A distant human cousin called Homo naledi. They had smaller brains, only about a third the size of ours, but somehow they were making art. If this turns out to be legit symbolic art, we're talking about a species that supposedly wasn't smart enough to do this kind of thing, actually doing it. And that messes with the whole bigger brain equals more advanced culture idea. As archaeologist Lee Berger put it, this could rewrite the story of human evolution. In 2022, researchers using 3D scanning technology discovered massive ancient glyphs carved into the walls and ceiling of a cave in northern Alabama. No one had noticed them before because you literally couldn't see them without 3D scans. Some of these figures stretch over 7 feet long and were carved into the low ceiling, meaning the people who made them had to lie on their backs in the dark to do it. The designs include snakes, human-like figures and shapes, and they're estimated to be over 1,000 years old. It's believed they were made by the Mississippian culture, but nothing else like this has been found in their art, and whoever etched these would have had to have been pretty serious about it. I mean, these figures were carefully carved into the rock. It's hard to reach and even harder to see. That alone makes it feel like they were hiding something possibly important. Maybe it was part of some ceremony, or maybe it was a message meant for someone in the future. Some researchers think this could have been a symbolic system, a way to pass on ideas or maybe even warnings that we still don't understand. Either way, the size, the location, the weirdness of it all, it makes it hard to believe it was just a random decoration. I mean, after all, it wasn't out in the open. Who'd get to appreciate it? Yeah, these carvings are weird. The Valcamonica petroglyphs found in northern Italy are one of the biggest collections of prehistoric rock art in Europe. Over 140,000 carvings spread across the valley. Most of them are pretty typical for ancient times. You have animals, tools, hunters, ritual scenes, but then you've got these two figures. They've got bulky bodies, what look like tight-fitting suits, and big round heads with what appear to be antennae or helmets. Some people say they look exactly like astronauts. So people who are really into ancient alien type stuff love to point to these two figures as possible proof that early humans might have encountered visitors from another planet, beings wearing spacesuits. Another popular theory is that they might be visitors from the future, which is definitely a fun idea too. Now, obviously these could also be stylized depictions of gods or warriors. Definitely could be the case, but the truth is, nobody really knows for sure, because there's no writing to explain what the artists were trying to get across. Sitting in a quiet little town in Japan, there's this massive rock called Ishi no Hoden. It's huge, about 600 tons, and somehow it looks like it's floating just slightly above the ground, like it's hovering. When you first see it, the shape is super weird too. It's this almost perfect rectangular block with a chunk cut out on one side, and from certain angles it kind of looks like an old school tube TV. The edges are super sharp, but the cuts are clean. It just doesn't look like it was made by accident. People have been trying to figure out how ancient builders carved and moved something this size, and more importantly, why it looks like it's suspended. Well, there's water underneath that fills this little basin carved into the rock below. That's what gives it the illusion that it's floating. But there's still a lot of mystery behind this. How was it made? Why was it made? There were no tools found near the site and no records of how it was built or the purpose behind it. The Palpa region in Peru is basically the lesser known cousin of the Nazca lines. Same kind of thing. There are giant geoglyphs carved into the mountains that are so big you can really only see them from the air. But what makes the Palpa Mountains interesting is that some of these lines and shapes don't just form animals or people, they actually look like runways, like massive landing strips, straight flat paths that stretch across the hills and plateaus with sharp edges and intersecting lines. Some people think this is just ancient ceremonial stuff or astronomy related designs, but others, they think it looks way too much like a place for aircraft to land, which is where you get some alien theories, like maybe these were literal airfields built for flying machines, or at least meant to be seen from above by something in the sky. There's also this one carving near Papa that's this figure with a huge round head and big eyes, and some say it looks pretty alien. No one really knows who made the Palpa lines or how they kept them so perfectly straight across such uneven terrain. They pulled this off without satellites, drones, or planes, which is pretty impressive. Right off the coast of Israel, under about 30 feet of water, there's this ancient site called Atlit Yam. It's a sunken village that dates back around 9,000 years. And what's weird, it has these massive stone circles and standing stones arranged in a pattern. Some people compare it to a mini version of Stonehenge, except underwater. The stones are set up around a freshwater spring, which makes people wonder if it was used for rituals or energy-related stuff. Now, obviously, energy centers is a loaded phrase. Nobody found ancient power cords or anything, but some researchers think the layout could have had a deeper meaning of some kind. The big question is how it got underwater as well. Sea levels have risen since the Ice Age, but the idea that a whole village with megalithic stonework just sank and got forgotten, it's pretty wild. Out in Arizona, there's this rock carving made by the Hopi tribe, and for decades, people have been debating as to what it really means. It's called Prophecy Rock. It shows a long line with different symbols branching off from it, figures, circles. According to some interpretations, it shows two separate futures. One is a straight path, staying connected to nature and balance. The other path branches off and ends in chaos. Some say it represents a future obsessed with technology, war, and destruction. There are also symbols on it that seem to represent sky-related events like stars and comets. Some people say it's just a traditional story, like a visual way the Hopi passed down their beliefs, but maybe it shows they understood patterns in the sky, maybe even how the planets line up over time. Whether that's true or not, nobody's fully decoded every part of the carving. At the ancient site of Baalbek in Lebanon, there's this massive stone platform that just shouldn't exist, not for the time period anyway. There are blocks that weigh over 1,000 tons each. One of them, the stone of the pregnant woman, is over 70 feet long and still sits half buried in a nearby quarry. These aren't decorative stones. They were meant to be moved and placed, but even today we need some incredibly heavy-duty cranes and logistics to pull that off. This was built over 2,000 years ago. Engineers have no solid answer for how the blocks were transported, let alone how they were placed so precisely. Well, what if the builders had access to some sort of technology that's been lost to time? Others go even further, talking about anti-gravity, that maybe the blocks were floated into place somehow. There's no writing that explains how they did it. No tools were left behind. The Romans did build on top of the platform later, but they didn't move the stones. They just used what was already there.
At number 10, Cueva de los Menos. Kicking off this list, we're going to head to Patagonia, the southern part of Argentina, and it holds some pretty haunting pieces of art from 13,000 years ago. It's also referred to as the Cave of Hands, which can either be really beautiful or absolutely terrifying. Either way you look at it, depends. I don't know, a pile of hands, for some reason I don't feel at ease looking at this. Whoever got the hands on the top part, hats off to you. That's pure commitment right there. The bone pipes that were used to spray the paint at the wall, well, those bone fragments were aged to around 9 to 13,000 years ago. There's something primal about drawing your hands. Like, I remember doing this exact project in grade 3. Hands are beautiful. Everyone's got unique, different shaped hands. I would do this, and then I write my name Taylor right in the middle, but it was actually Taylor, a chicken scratch. I still can, right? Number 9, Lascaux Cave Murals. These Paleolithic drawings are from 17,000 BC. Haunting to look at, to think that humans could draw this well that many moons ago. And I'm still over here drawing suns in the corner of my work. Come on, I gotta step it up. The Lascaux Cave Murals are now a World Heritage Site. In the 40s, you could visit the cave yourself, but thanks to carbon dioxide levels from visitors, and your breath, it was closed later in 1963. Yet the art was literally fading away with every breath that we took. Not only is this one of the oldest pieces of art ever, but these paintings resemble the origin of spirituality. Markings in caves like this from ages ago come long before many religious books. Yet a lot of paintings tend to have demons in them, like biblical demons. Perhaps these drawings were inspired from hallucinations, hopefully, but many believe it's the first account of a demon interacting with a human being on our planet. Yeah, how lovely is that? And in turn, thousands of years ago, we had to record what happened with the only thing we had, which was, evidently, cave art. Number 8, Romanelli Cave Art. Located in Italy, this was actually discovered just over 100 years ago, so it's actually quite recent. We love new, old art. Hiding this entire time on Italy's southeast coast, only 7 meters above the Adriatic Sea, which explains why nobody ever found it this entire time. Well, luckily Mother Nature has our back. She's sending us clues. There's actually a collapse that happened inside of the cave, which created, well, more difficulties in the search in the long run, but it actually helped. Through excavation of the cave, researchers have found deposits of animal bones, human bones, and of course, art. What a loaded discovery. You got a little bit of everything. It's a lot of loot. They found what's called a bovid, which is some geometric patterns which are made using moon milk. It's the soft white material found in limestone, and it seems to be a bird, I guess, which is pretty amazing considering how few of these we see in the ancient art world. This art is great, but next to bones, it sounds like this wasn't really a passion project. It sounds like some poor soul was stuck in that cave and had to make a bird to avoid going insane. Animal bones suggest they had something to eat along the way, so I'm just saying, they had time to create this masterpiece. Also, what a horrible scenario. Number 7, Lascaux. Lascaux is a complex of caves and different rock shelters located in northwestern Somalia. These caves and shelters contain some of the earliest known art pieces in the Horn of Africa, which is amazing considering the history of humans and Africa in general and how far back we go. That's where it all began, and these prehistoric cave paintings show cows in ceremonial robes. And there's also some humans, there's also some domesticated dogs, and of course, since it's Africa, a giraffe is also hanging in. Whatever's going on, it's beautiful, and I want to be part of it. I have FOMO. The paintings are extremely well preserved, they're beautiful. Again, I just want to know what's going on, if I'm being honest. Looks like a good time here, or a really bad time. Never know. Number 6, Forbidden Friends. Lascaux cave paintings date back to some, 17,000 years ago, and a lot of the art seen on the walls of the cave is art that depicts animals. There's about 900 of them. This thing is fully loaded. Over 600 are pretty identifiable. In it we see cattle, bison, some wild cats, bears, birds, but no reindeer. Which is odd. This is where the mystery comes into play. What happened here? Did they just forget about this one specific animal out of 900, although they ate reindeer meat daily? It took a long time to realize, but our best guess now is that these works of art, these animals, are ones they never caught. Yeah, the forbidden Pokemon, the ones they didn't catch at all. Animals they would dream about, if anything. They could never hunt or catch them because, well, especially at this time, they were way too fast, too large, and too strong. Plus, this is a time before certain weapons or tools were ever available. Yeah, more than fair. I would much rather draw a bison than have to tackle one. We're good.
The Cocknos Stone is a massive 42-foot by 26-foot stone in West Dunbartonshire, Scotland, covered in strange, grooved spirals, geometric shapes, and over 90 mysterious cup and ring carvings. The markings are believed to date back around 5,000 years, making the stone one of the finest examples of Bronze Age rock art in Europe. It was discovered by Reverend James Harvey in 1887. What makes the Cockno stone so intriguing is not just the sheer number of carvings on it, but some of the odd features like the pre-Christian cross, 2 pairs of carved footprints, each with only 4 toes. Why only 4 toes? Could this be a symbol, or could it mean some kind of otherworldly influence? In the 60s, the stone was repeatedly damaged by vandals, so in 1964, archaeologists decided to cover it up to protect it. The stone was buried for decades, but about 8 years ago, it started being unearthed again. And this unearthing, of course, brought a lot of attention to the mysterious carvings once again. Some theorists, especially those into the ancient astronaut idea, think these carvings could be evidence of alien visitors from the past. The weird shapes, the footprints, is it just ancient art, or could it be something more? In the Talampaya National Park in Argentina, there's a mysterious collection of ancient petroglyphs carved into some of the rock faces. The petroglyphs date back thousands of years, with some estimates putting them around 2,000 to 3,000 years old. I mean, does this not look a bit like a person in a spacesuit to you? I mean, it's very rudimentary, but I could see it. Some of the figures also have large round heads with long thin bodies and arms. Others have bizarre elongated faces or oversized eyes. It could just be stylistic, of course, but it's easy to see why some people say these might be representations of ancient encounters with something from beyond. The Judakula Rock is this massive boulder in the mountains of North Carolina, full of some of the most intriguing sets of petroglyphs in the United States. The rock itself is covered in over 1,500 symbols, including cut marks, spirals, tracks, and what some believe to be winged shapes and claw-like imprints. But what do these designs actually mean? Some think the petroglyphs may represent a map of the surrounding landscape, showing hunting trails, rivers, and landmarks that were important to the Cherokee people. The Cherokee also have their own legends connected to the rock, including stories of Judakula, a mythical creature described as this slant-eyed master of game. The rock is considered spiritually significant to the Cherokee, and it was part of an old trail connecting sacred sites. With more than 1,500 carvings, Judakula Rock holds more petroglyphs than any other site east of the Mississippi. Its true meaning is still a bit of a mystery, but it is clear that the ancient site was extremely important culturally and spiritually. So we're gonna go back to Sego Canyon for a moment to talk more specifically about the rock art created by the Fremont people. Sego County is a bit of a time capsule, with rock art from 4 different periods: Archaic, Fremont, Ute, and even some Anglo-American additions from the late 1800s. The Fremont style dates back around 600 to 1250 CE. It features these human-like figures that are pecked directly into the rock, and they're very strange looking figures. To me, some of them almost look like your classic 1950s style robots. Very boxy bodies, what almost looks like antennas sticking out of their heads, details that look kind of like buttons and knobs on their bodies. Again, could these figures represent something more than just ancient people? Could they be alien visitors or their technology? By the time the Ute style started coming about, around 1300 to the mid-1800s, the art had evolved to include more realistic depictions of animals, shields, and warriors, more standard stuff. And then, of course, we see the addition of graffiti by settlers and miners in the 19th century. In the hills of Galicia, Spain, there's a fascinating collection of ancient rock art known as the Galician spirals, found on rocks scattered across the region that date back thousands of years, with some estimates putting them at over 4,000 years old. The spirals are pretty interesting because of their unusual-ish design. They're typically circular or spiral shapes, sometimes intertwined with other patterns like zigzags or concentric rings. Spirals are often interpreted as symbolic representations of ancient religions or spiritual beliefs at the time. Some researchers think they could be connected to the sun, cycles of nature, or fertility, but what's interesting is how these shapes resemble motifs found in other ancient cultures from Europe to South America. Some people believe these spirals might actually depict something more extraordinary, like alien encounters. The idea is that the spirals, with their complex swirling shapes,
could be taken from symbols on alien visitors' spacecraft. And, I could see that because of how similar these are across the world, as this stuff humans were seeing everywhere. I mean, they had no contact with each other at the time. Or it could just be something we intrinsically draw. We just like doing those shapes, Take your pick. But
And at number 10 is the Megara Cave. The Megara Cave is located in northwestern Bulgaria. Cave paintings there have been estimated to be made between 10,000 and 8,000 years ago. The drawings represent important events of the society that had occupied the Megara Cave, such as religious ceremonies, hunting scenes, and depictions of deities which are unique on the Balkan Peninsula. The fertility dance and the hunting ceremony rank among the most noteworthy paintings. One grouping from the Bronze Age has been interpreted as a solar calendar. According to Alexei Stoev and Penka Valkova-Stovia, hope I said their names right, Bronze Age paintings of staggered black and white squares used to count the days in the calendar month permit to describe fairly accurately the number of days in the solar tropical year. So did this cave painting predict the use of calendars? I think so. The cave paintings allowed storing information about regional solar calendars, customs, religious festivals, and rituals of the society, which is the earliest representation yet to be discovered in Europe. Number 9. Astronomy. A new study says that some of the world's oldest cave paintings reveal that ancient people had relatively advanced knowledge of astronomy. According to the new analysis, some of the paintings are not simply depictions of wild animals, as was previously thought. Instead, the animal symbols represent star constellations in the night sky and are used to represent dates and mark events such as comet strikes. Researchers from the universities of Edinburgh and Kent studied details of Paleolithic and Neolithic art featuring animal symbols at sites in Turkey, Spain, France, and Germany. They found all the sites used the same method of date keeping based on sophisticated astronomy, even though the art was separated in time by tens of thousands of years. According to the study published November 2nd, 2018, the cave painting suggests that, perhaps as far back as 40,000 years ago, humans kept track of time using knowledge of how the position of the stars slowly changes over thousands of years. The findings indicate that the astronomical insights of ancient people were far greater than previously believed. Their knowledge may have aided navigation of the open seas, the researchers say, with implications for our understanding of prehistoric human migration. Martin Sweatman, the University of Edinburgh School of Engineering, led the study and said early cave art shows that people had advanced knowledge of the night sky within the last ice age. Intellectually, they were hardly any different to us today. Researchers reinterpreted earlier findings from a study of stone carving at one of these sites in modern-day Turkey, which is interpreted as a memorial to a devastating comet strike around 11,000 BC. This strike was thought to have initiated a mini ice age known as the Younger Drawes period. Number 8. Willinga Rock Art Panel. In Australia, this rock art panel contains more than 200 motifs. Stylistic changes in the layering of the paintings suggest that they were painted in the last 3 broad painting phases. Changes in social, political, economic, and religious life are often marked by changes in visual expression such as found in this cave. Although the rock art is yet to be radiocarbon dated, some of the layers are likely to be at least 3,000 years old and may have much earlier origins. The oldest paintings have recently been called Walina figures, since this particular style of figure has only been encountered in this rock art shelter. These figures have elongated bodies and large round heads circled with headdresses. They have eyes and noses but no mouths. Most are painted with white outline and black infill. Now, what do these faces mean? Are they even drawings of humans, or are they aliens or some sort of otherworldly creature? Seems like we may never know. Number 7. Cave of Swimmers. The Cave of Swimmers is a cave with ancient rock art in the Libyan desert section of the Sahara. The cave and rock art was discovered in October 1933. Now, the drawings include those of a giraffe and a hippopotamus, and they're estimated to have been created as early as 10,000 years ago, with the beginning of the African humid period, when the Sahara was significantly greener and wetter than it is today. On the wall, there also looks like there's some sort of humanoid creature swimming. Physical scientists who have been conducting research in the area drew a provisional link between the proposed swimming humans and two lakes that are 124 miles south of the cave. However, Andres Bore, an archaeologist who is doing the research in the area, questions whether the figures are swimming or not. He believes that the drawings are clearly symbolic with an unknown meaning. Now, I'm gonna say what we're all thinking. These are drawings of mermaids, right? Perhaps mermaids were around at that time and then they went into hiding. And hopefully one day they'll reveal themselves to us again.
Number 5. The Cave of El Castillo, aka the Cave of the Castle. This is a Stone Age rock shelter located in Spain, and it holds some of the oldest cave paintings that we have ever found. Period. The most notable of all the art found here is referred to as the Gallery of Hands, which is a panel of abstract signs and hand stencil rock art that has been dated to around 40,000 years ago. So again, so old. This cave holds over 100 different images, such as several rock engravings of deer, again, animals, as well as other animals that would have been seen in the area like bison, goats, horses, aurochs, which are now an extinct species. There are even images found in this cave of dogs, which is extremely rare in prehistoric cave art. We love dogs. In Egypt it had cats, over here we have dogs. We're loving them. We're loving them both sides. Right now it's debated whether it was Neanderthals that were responsible for this art or if it was Homo sapiens after all this. And to be honest, it can go either way. There's a fine line, and art is just the only divider of that line. Number 4, Uber. As a lanky guy such as myself, this next work of art, this hits close to home for sure. Located in the Kakadu National Park, Northern Australia, this area was quite ideal when it came to shelter. The large overhanging rocks, I mean, if you're okay with giant spiders, you're at least staying dry every day. Early humans chose the specific spots for their art, and it totally makes sense. Some of the art here is said to be 20,000 years old, featuring many different animals, like catfish, turtles, possum, wallabies, Tasmanian tigers. Oh my, this thing was loaded. Along with the extensive amount of rock art that can be found here, there's also art that was found painted on skeletons of animals in the area as well, which sure, on paper sounds beautiful and all, but now that we're way past it, we can look back and say, hey, I didn't want to see that. Seeing this unfold in real time would be quite stressful. Just a dude painting a fresh pile of bones, I'd be like, hey, really good stuff, super early, but I'm gonna go throw up. Love it, we love art. Number 3, Gorham's Cave. Neanderthal rock engravings dating back to 37,000 years ago. Let's do it. Found in Gorham's Cave, Gibraltar, the biggest question here as far as cave art goes, did Neanderthals do this or was this modern man? That's always the question. Who done it? The thing with art is that it's so subjective. Are these scratches art? Is this animal art? Is this even an animal to begin with? What is this? Is it a circle with what is it? In total, there's 8 tiny rock engravings found. They were discovered by a team of scientists back in July 2012. They were tucked away on a ledge in the far back part of the cave, so they were hiding. Were these etched into the walls before the time of modern man? So far, we're leaning towards Neanderthal. Again, being one of the earliest types of art in the world, yeah, it's plausible. This was definitely a Neanderthal. It feels so bad because the art isn't that good, so they're like, I don't know if they did it. It's like, I think they did. I think they knew quite a bit. They knew how to hunt mammoths. I can't do that. None of us can do it in this building, definitely. Number 2, ruined cave art. This painting is the oldest known painting in India, which is a feat in itself, and it was found in the walls of Sitnavasal Cave. It was originally believed that this painting was first created in the 1st century BCE. The painting depicts things like human figures, fish, elephants, birds, different floral patterns, recognizable things. The haunting part here is that another artist ended up drawing over the original ancient artwork, which, I mean, on one hand, if you did that today, if you spray painted over somebody's art outside, that's bad juju. That's like the worst of the worst. You're upsetting a lot of people, and you're for sure in danger. Imagine that in the ancient form. That takes so much time and effort to ruin somebody's work. These paintings have been severely vandalized and a lot of the areas are permanently now in bad shape. Yeah, leave ancient art alone. Do you want to get cursed? This is definitely how you get cursed. Don't touch it. Look, don't touch. Number 1, Altamira Cave. And last but not least, we're heading over to Spain for our last painting on today's list. This one has us scratching our heads still because obviously it's quite old. This is prehistoric art. This is the oldest of the oldest. This time we have charcoal drawings and polychrome paintings that show some contemporary fauna and human, again, hands. The fascinating part here is that these are prehistoric. They're the first European cave paintings with a prehistoric origin. That is massive. It was thought for a long time that prehistoric humans weren't capable of abstract thought. Yet, here we are. On YouTube, I'm like, we're getting better. Handprints. Yet again, that's for sure abstract. It's said the earliest of these paintings here can date back to the Upper Paleolithic period, which is 36,000 years ago. That's quite old.
Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have the Tassili Najir cave paintings in Algeria. Deep in the Sahara Desert, the Tassili Najir plateau of Algeria harbors cave paintings that have mystified historians. These artworks, created over 12,000 years ago, showcase not only the expected depictions of animals and everyday life, but also mysterious humanoid figures with large round heads and peculiar antenna-like protrusions. For some enthusiasts of ancient astronaut theories, these strange beings hint at extraterrestrial visitors or even predictions of future human space exploration. They wonder, did our ancestors witness something beyond their understanding, or were they envisioning a destiny among the stars? On the other hand, archaeologists and anthropologists provide a more grounded interpretation. They believe these figures represent humans adorned with ceremonial masks or elaborate headdresses, reflecting the spiritual rituals and cultural richness of the ancient inhabitants. In our number 9 spot, today we have the Val Camonica petroglyphs in Italy. Nestled in the Italian Alps, Val Camonica is home to one of the world's largest collections of prehistoric petroglyphs, boasting over 140,000 symbols and figures etched into the rock over thousands of years. Among these ancient carvings are intriguing humanoid figures that appear to have halos or rays shooting from their heads. This curious detail has fueled speculations that these artists were depicting astronauts or divine beings, perhaps even hinting at advanced knowledge or technologies far beyond their time. Some wonder if these carvings are eerie predictions of future developments or encounters with otherworldly entities. However, most scholars interpret these radiant figures as representations of spiritual power or significance, possibly depicting deities, shamans, or warriors adorned in ceremonial gear meant to signify their importance within the community. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Temple of Hathor. Deep within the ancient Temple of Hathor at Dendera, Egypt, there's a set of carvings that have ignited both wonder and wild theories. These intriguing carvings show what appear to be giant light bulbs, complete with filament-like snakes inside, being supported by priests or deities. Some modern observers have jumped to the electrifying conclusion that the Egyptians not only predicted future technology, but might have actually harnessed electricity long before Thomas Edison lit up the world. Could these carvings be evidence of ancient light bulbs illuminating the pharaoh's temples? While the idea is a spark for the imagination, mainstream Egyptologists offer a different perspective. They explain that these images are deeply rooted in Egyptian mythology, depicting the lotus flower giving birth to a serpent, symbolizing the god Harsomptis and the daily cycle of creation and rebirth. The so-called bulbs are not electrical devices, but spiritual symbols brimming with religious meaning. So while it is fun to think of ancient Egyptians tinkering with tech gadgets, the reality illuminates something perhaps even more fascinating: the rich and complex belief system that inspired some of the most enduring art in human history. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Wandjina rock art in Australia. Deep in the Kimberley region of Western Australia, the ancient Wandjina rock art mesmerizes with its haunting figures. Beings with large heads, enormous eyes, and no mouths, all enveloped by halos or cloud-like shapes. These striking images, painted by Indigenous Australians thousands of years ago, have sparked all sorts of theories. Some people look at these otherworldly figures and speculate that they're depictions of ancient astronauts or predictions of future encounters with aliens. But when we delve into the rich cultural tapestry of the indigenous communities, a different story begins to unfold. The Wandjina are revered ancestral spirits linked to weather phenomena like rain and storms, embodying the very essence of creation and life. The halos and cloud-like forms symbolize their control over the elements, and the absence of mouth signifies that their power is so immense they don't need to speak to exert it. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Sago Canyon petroglyphs. In the heart of Utah's rugged landscape, Sago Canyon holds a treasure trove of ancient rock art that has puzzled and intrigued visitors for generations. Spanning over 8,000 years and created by various indigenous cultures, the canyon's sandstone walls are adorned with large humanoid figures sporting elongated bodies, oversized eyes, and curiously enough, antenna-like appendages protruding from their heads. These mysterious images have sparked the imaginations of theorists who speculate that they're depictions of extraterrestrial beings or even time travelers, suggesting that the artists might have been forecasting future encounters with aliens or some kind of advanced technology. On the flip side, archaeologists and experts provide a more down-to-earth explanation. They believe these figures are spiritual representations, capturing visions experienced during trance states or serving as stylized artistic expressions. The exaggerated features likely symbolize a connection to the spiritual realm rather than messages from the stars.
Number 6. Las Gil. Las Gil are cave formations on the rural outskirts of Hargeisa, Somaliland. They contain some of the earliest known cave paintings of domesticated African arcs in the Horn of Africa. Las Gil's rocks art is estimated to date circa 3,500 to 2,500 BCE. During November and December 2002, an archaeological survey was carried out in Somaliland by a French team of researchers. During the course of the survey, the excavation team discovered Las Gil cave paintings that encompass an area of 10 rock caves. In an excellent state of preservation, the rock art depicts wild animals and decorated cattle, cows, and bulls. Now, could this be them trying to honor the animals or showing us that one day cows will rule the world? Unlikely, but I'll put it out there. They also feature herders, which are believed to be the creators of the painting. Number 5. The Great Gallery. The Horseshoe Canyon in Utah contains some of the most significant rock markings in North America. The Great Gallery includes well-preserved, life-size figures with intricate designs. This well-preserved site includes both pictographs, painted figures, and petroglyphs, figures etched in rock with a sharp stone. The tampered life-size figures lack arms and legs, but frequently contain intricate designs. Now, was the lack of arms and legs a choice, or did they have some people who were a part of that community that didn't have legs or arms? I'm not too sure, but other impressive sites include spring wildflowers, sheer sandstone walls, and mature cottonwood groves along the intermittent stream in the canyon bottom. Artifacts recovered from the site in this area date back to as early as 9,000 to 7,000 BCE. Number 4. Big Rock. The paintings on the Big Rock near Okotoks, Alberta are estimated to be anywhere from hundreds to thousands of years old. The Blackfoot people used the rock as a landmark for finding a crossing over the Sheep River before European settlers arrived. There are countless First Nation legends associated with the rock, some of which were relayed through pictographs painted onto its surface. Now, according to local elders, one such painting depicts a journey. The arrows point in the direction of travel, north, while moons or circles tell the time it took to complete the journey. There are 17 moons in total, meaning it likely took 17 months to complete the trek. The symbols and figures at the top of this pictograph may indicate why the journey was made. This is essentially a map with instructions made out of pictures, which is pretty cool. Number 3. The UFO. Chattisgarh State Department of Archaeology and Culture plans to seek help from NASA and ISRO for research on 10,000-year-old rock paintings depicting aliens and UFOs in Chartama region of Cantor District. According to archaeologist Jay Baggett, these paintings have depicted aliens like those shown in Hollywood and Bollywood films. Located about 130 kilometers from Raipur, Baggett said the findings suggest that humans in prehistoric times may have seen or imagined beings from other planets, which still create curiosity among people and researchers. Extensive research is needed for further findings. Chattisgarh presently doesn't have any such expert who could give clarity on the subject. Now, there are several beliefs among locals in these villages. While few worship the paintings, others narrate stories that they have heard from ancestors about Rohilla people, the small-sized ones, who used to land from the sky in a round-shaped flying object and take away one or two persons of the village who never returned. Now, the paintings are done in natural colors that have hardly faded despite the years. The strangely carved figures are seen holding weapon-like objects and do not have clear features. Specifically, the nose and mouth are missing. In a few pictures, they are even shown wearing spacesuits. We can't refute the possibility of imagination by prehistoric men, but humans usually fancy such things, the archaeologist said. Number 2. Lascaux Caves. Lascaux Caves is a network of caves near the village of Montignac. Over 600 wall paintings cover the interior walls and ceilings of the cave. The paintings represent primarily large animals, typical local contemporary fauna that correspond with the fossil record of the Upper Paleolithic in the area. They are the combined effort of many generations, and with continued debate, the age of the paintings is usually estimated at around 17,000 years. An amateur researcher assembled a team that included experts from the fields of mathematics, archaeology, and psychology who analyzed the data, compared it to seasonal behaviors of modern animals, and agreed that the numbers represented by dots and slashes are not cardinal but rather ordinal representations of months. As to the frequent occurring symbol that represents a Y, it indicates the month in which various female animal birth their young. The team theorized in the Cambridge Archaeological Journal that this mark may constitute the first known example of an action word, i.e. a verb to give birth. Taken together, the cave paintings and non-figurative markings tell an old-age circular tale of migration, birthing, and mating of birds, bison, fish, horses, mammoths, rhinos, and others. Did these paintings create the first fertility app? I don't know, but it's pretty impressive that they were able to keep track of all of that. And coming in at number 1 is hunting paintings. An Indonesian splunker named Hamara was exploring the grounds of a concrete plant on the island of Sulawesi in 2017 when he found a cave full of art. The painting depicts 2 pigs and 4 small body relatives of water buffalo, as well as what appears to be 8 humanoid figures that are 2 to 4 inches tall. Some of the human figures are holding long, spindly objects pointed toward the animals that might be ropes or spears. The humanoid figures bear usual features, including one with a stubby tail and another with a bird-like beak. Now, why would they draw humans like this? Were they thinking of what a cross of a human and an animal would be, like our present-day crossbreeding experiments? Or dare I say, did they come up with the concept of furries? Whether the art depicts a hunt or some other event, it's likely the oldest known story told through pictures, and the researchers say as the mural dates back to at least 44,000 years.